Not being slick at all. I had to represent in the midst of two UCLA guys. I want to fight hard for their boys. I had to put on for my people too. So.
Hey, let's not forget you're taking a class at UCLA too. Don't hide that from the people. Don't hide that from the people.
I'm doing what I have to do. I have my radar under my jacket every day I go into class though. We understand what it is. So
Marshawn Lynch energy, man. Just here so you won't get fined.
Oh my God! Oh yeah, exactly. Actually, I don't get fined. Not here for no issues. But glad to be back, y'all. As you see, special episode today. It's the boy G and Alec alongside a good friend of ours, Jake Gould. Definitely glad to have him on. He's been on a few times now in the past, and now we plan on having him as a recurring guest. We talked about wanting to have a rotation of people coming in and their insight. And Jake is one of our most knowledgeable friends that we have that knows UFC and baseball and beyond very well, and definitely glad to have him on as a consistent member of the show. So, Jake, glad to have you and excited to talk about the things we got going on today.
Man, it's been a minute, but look, it's gonna be a good time. So much to talk about. I love this time of the year. You know, March Madness wraps up, baseball's back in swing, fight game keeps going, NFL drafts. I mean, You guys set the topics. I'm just here to talk about them.
Absolutely. So we're gonna jump into it, and we're gonna start off with. There's been a lot of talk about the women's NCAA tournament, which is something that is something that's new to us. A lot of folks usually look the other way for whatever reasons, but finally have given the women a lot of attention. And while they did enjoy the game, they've been struggling off the court as well, as people are looking at not only the dominant performance that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese put on in the championship game, but also the trash talk that was added into the game as well. And while some folks like the trash talk, others have been looking down on it. It's garnered a lot of discussion. So wanted to add our thoughts into that as well, and we'll get into other things beyond that. But I'm glad to talk about this with you guys today. Thank you for tuning in again. Make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff for us. Appreciate all the love. We're going to run this intro for this being our first episode, and we're going to jump into it, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Let's roll. So as y'all see, we are here after the women's national championship game. My apologies. LSU beat Iowa in dominant fashion. Angel Reese, as you can see here, silenced the greatness that was Caitlin Clark, along as well as her teammates putting on spectacular performances to get the championship this last weekend. And as we said, there's been a lot of talk beyond the game, because as you saw here, that there were moments like this and beyond where Angel Reese and others were very vocal about their, disdain somewhat of Caitlin Clark, and just there was trash talk going on all game, following Caitlin Clark being the one trash talking herself in prior games versus South Carolina and others. So they felt somewhat offended by her bravado and give it back to her in their winning effort. So there have been talks about them being unprofessional. There have been talks about Angel Reese and them not being class acts and things of that nature. How do y'all feel about Angel Reese and her performance and her showing this last weekend in the championship effort? I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the season, Angel Reese has been exceptional for LSU, and I thought throughout the tournament she was as well. I believe she won like most outstanding player in the tournament, which that could have gone to Caitlin Clark, but I understand the nod to the champion there, giving her that nod. But
quick comment.
Yeah.
She also did have a double every game. She was averaging like 20 and 20. So
that's what I'm saying. Like
she was up there balling too. So
she was deserving too, for sure. And I thought LSU was dominant, as you said, in that championship game against Iowa. You said she quieted Caitlin Clark. She did at the end. Caitlin still got her 30 though. Can't forget that. She still got her buckets. But yeah, LSU was dominant, especially from the 3-point line. I believe they shot, 65% from three in that game. So they were cooking in that championship game, and Iowa just didn't have enough on the under end for them. Alexis Morris too. Don't want to forget her. She was balling for LSU at the point guard position. Key clutch baskets to ice the game at the end as well. So. It was a very impressive performance against the Iowa team that We didn't even expect to be there. We thought South Carolina was going to take them down, but Caitlin Clark kind of willed them to that championship game. But very impressive performance from LSU.
Jake, what you think about the performance?
I could say that this was like what I saw from Caitlin Clark was reminiscent of Allen Iverson carrying the 76ers to the playoffs. Like, that's really what I saw, was like, wow, this person is doing it by themselves. I mean, not to take anything away. She has some good teammates, again, but we're going to call a spade a spade.
She had some help. She had a little help, but she was dominating.
LSU was more well-rounded. Yeah. The better team won that game. The best player on the court, I mean, not to take anything away from Angel Reese. Caitlin Clark was the best player on that court. Mm-hmm. Just couldn't do enough. And the tremendous effort from the Tigers, great team basketball. Really, like, it was awesome to watch. Other than I guess my one gripe would have been the officiating. Really, kind of just,
that's true. Yeah,
did take a little bit of
college officiating across the board is an issue.
It's men's and women's game. At least it's good to see that, like, if it's going to be bad, it's going to be bad for the most.
Consistently bad, yeah.
But to kind of get to what I was going to say was we started talking about trash talk, right?
Right.
It's embraced in sports.
Yeah.
I think so oftentimes everyone wants to get on Twitter, dish their two cents,
Yeah.
before listening to the players themselves.
Yeah.
And we saw what Caitlin Clark had to say about the issue.
Right.
It's part of the game,
Yeah.
She's gonna talk it. She's got to be able to receive it back. Now, this is a nuanced conversation, because the way Angel Reese points her ring finger, we've seen people do that. We saw Joe Burrow do it. Same school when LSU won.
Right. Yeah.
We saw Aaron Donald, go Rams, do it after winning. Now, those guys didn't do it, and then we've seen the deuces being chucked up. I think that was Antoine Winfield.
Right.
Years. So we've seen things like that, right? So the Winfield one is probably the closest thing, because it was literally in someone's face.
Yeah.
We've seen Cam Newton, hit his dab in the end zone, I think, against the Tennessee. So this kind of stuff happens. Yeah. Tyronn Lue getting stepped on. I mean, we could go on and on and on, on and on and on and on. We don't see it as much in the women's game.
Sure.
Double standards in society exist. Gender, race, you can keep going down. And then you combine gender and race.
Right.
There's a dynamic there that people might not want to talk about it. And again, I could talk about it, but I don't have the same living experience as, say, you two do. Like, again, I'm separated from the issue in a certain way. Mm-hmm. Now, I do think Angel falling around Caitlin could have been more of the Dylan Brooks type of, like, all right, bro,
like, relax a little bit,
relax a little, but it's not out of bounds.
Sure,
it's not. Sure. It's not like it's like, oh, classless piece of work. Come on, Dave Portnoy.
I know.
Like that's
he was just mad. He was just mad his bet lost. That's all it was.
Yeah. All they ain't hit, and he was lost his mind.
And that's where it's like, okay, you could say there's like some real dog whistle type of energy coming from these people who are just mad about an issue. It's like, you were never mad about this when this happened in the men's game.
Right.
Now, to kind of just, bring it all together. Caitlin Clark said it was okay. She talks trash. Angel Reese is from the DMV, Baltimore.
That was my statement. Baltimore.
Like,
playing with Baltimore, y'all. Like, what are we doing here? Y'all know how Baltimore gets down?
Yeah. So like,
leave them alone.
And guess what? They're both coming back, so we get to watch again.
Yeah.
So I'm personally, as a fan, I love it. Right. And I think down the line, these two might end up being teammates on Team USA one day, and it's just going to be a great story. So I think people got to just maybe a little bit calm down on both sides of the conversation, because Caitlin's being Caitlin in their own ways. People are trying to like turn these two women against each other when like this was just heated competition, So I love it though. Trash talking sports.
There's absolutely one side to your point, Jake, where there are many people trying to separate the two and try to say the two sides, however you want to put it, versus Caitlin and her style versus Angel and her approach. There's other people that are just directly attacking Angel by herself.
Sure.
I think a lot of folks that are doing that are very wrong in doing that, especially to your point, circling back to what you said about how Caitlyn herself was like, hey, I dished it out. She gave it back and she won the game and I'm cool with it. That's not an issue. So there are a lot of people, to your point also, just about some of the other things that are in play in their people's reaction that are causing a lot of uproar that just is not right. So yeah, I think that Angel is totally fine in how she moved about. Yeah, again, to your point, if you wanted to say she's doing a little bit too much with following around, I saw one video. She went up and down the whole court.
She was doing a lot, man. Yeah.
I was like, all right.
And then after the game too, where it's like continuing to do it because it was a little bit different when she's going like this. It's her saying, "You can't see me." Like, all right, to me, I look at it like when Steph's hitting the shimmy, right? Steph's shimmy. And then when CP3's shimmying in Steph's face, that's like a little different. But again, that's you do it, you can kind of get it back. So look, man, I got nothing to say about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say my main issue.
Go ahead.
My main issue is more so with the people like you mentioned, Jake, like on Twitter, just giving their 2 cents, but very one-sided 2 cents attacking Angel Reese as G was touching on. And the idea of class in sports is like really old fashioned. Like, please get that out of sports. Like, I don't care how classy you are. Like, this is competition. Like, I think there's a difference between like sportsmanship, like being a good sport and respecting the game and that kind of thing, and having to have like class or etiquette like in the game. Like, I don't think that's an idea or concept that we really need to have in sports. And I think when the idea of class comes up, it's kind of a thinly veiled racism that I see targeted at Angel Reese and players that look like her. And I think she, in her post-game conference, kind of touched on the double standard that comes with people who look like her doing the same type of taunting that Caitlyn did. But yeah, I just think that's the main thing, the concept I want to get out of sports. Like this idea of you need to be classy in winning or classy in defeat as well. Like just let's get that word out of sports.
One more thing, I'll pass it to you, Jake. But before we get more into just trash talk in general, just to close things off with LSU and Iowa, what did y'all think about the reaction from the White House and Jill Biden wanting to invite both teams to the White House after the fact? Were y'all fine with that, or are she wrong for wanting to include Caitlyn and those girls?
Alec, go ahead.
Okay. It was funny. And Angel Reese's response was funny too. Like, I think she just said a joke, like with the laughing emoji or whatever.
Yeah.
I think I understand. Like, I think Jill was coming, or Miss First Lady was coming from respect. Was coming from a place of like wanting to celebrate the women's game, which I can respect. And as G mentioned at the top of the show, the women's game growing and more people having eyes on it and seeking to expand the game in that way, wanting to celebrate both these teams. I get that, but I don't think she thought about like how it would come off to other people. And in the immediate response, like I think it was recognized like, oh, like no, we can't have the runner-up come to the White House as well. So I think it was like well-intentioned, but not the best of ideas.
What's that one meme? Damn, I'm getting cooked.
Yeah, literally. That was
Adrian Broner. That's Adrian Broner. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting cooked.
Yeah, it was one of those for sure. Go for it, Jake.
Yeah, so my stance on it, look, again, I think 9.9 million people watch this game.
Yeah.
It's like this is a moment where Dr. Biden, she was thinking probably like, hey, women's sports, pushing the envelope for something that was very positive. And I think in like some of the efforts to elevate the women's game, I feel like one of the things we might do sometimes while trying to elevate the women's game, like, and this kind of feels like it, like we don't have to make it separate than how we treat the men's game. Like, would we invite the loser of the men's championship? No.
Someone was
So-
like, they should invite TCU football because they gave it a good try against.
No, like we don't need to do that. And so like I do think it came from a place of good intentions, but again, it's kind of like that participation trophy energy that we're all trying to like, do we need this? You know, like and the fair question to ask is, say the roles were reversed.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Then it's LSU that loses. It's Iowa that wins. Again, it's a fair question to ask. I don't think it's fair to jump to the conclusion and say that Dr. Joe Biden wouldn't invite them, but it's a fair question to ask when we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
So I think, look, again, and all we gotta do is look to Caitlin, who said, I don't want to go. I don't want to steal their moment. So I feel like in this, Caitlin Clark is no victim at all. But I do think it's like, because so many people trying to put on their cape and like save her, people they're putting her face to like this, like, oh, she is, you know, X, Y, and Z, like the problem here, you know? And I just, that's why I'm like, I'm being very careful with how I'm talking about it. Cause I'm like, I think like, look, both these women were studs for their teams.
Yeah. We
should have separate conversations about how great they were, and then let LSU have their moment, just like we'd have any other national champion or champion in a pro sports league get to go to the White House, because we never have seen runner-ups go.
I think
why start now?
I think really what she wanted to do was invite Caitlin Clark, but she couldn't just say like Caitlin Clark. She said the whole team of Iowa. She wanted to give her like the Jerry West treatment, where you get the MVP and the loss kind of thing.
Right? Yeah. I mean, yeah. So.
Yeah. So I see what both of y'all are saying. Alec, to your point, I think there can be certain circumstances where an event can go down where both teams could be involved. For example, I could have made the argument that if FAU made the championship for the men, no matter what, if they win or lose, FAU being a 9 seed, whatever it was, and getting there, deserved to have a moment some way or another. And then this game, had the game at least been closer, maybe that argument could have been made. But the fact that LSU pretty much dominated that game, it's like, all right, we have to acknowledge them individually for what they did. So yeah, and then as Jake pointed out, I don't think if it was flipped, it wouldn't receive the same way either. So yeah, definitely something to continue to look at. But glad, as you point out the numbers and the reception, I think it was like 9 point whatever million views that it garnered, having the attention that it had, as people have been trying to highlight women's sports a lot more recently, as it deserves. I'm glad that's getting its attention, and hopefully now we can move beyond the drama and just continue to focus on the great talents that this game has. Because as we see, there's 2 great ones here and many more beyond them as well. So good stuff there. And then just in general, we've talked now directly about the whole situation with LSU and Iowa, but beyond them and just in general, you kind of talked about it earlier, Alec, but is trash talk as a whole just unprofessional, or can trash talk be something that is good for the sport?
I think trash talk is great for the sport. I think animosity, a little bit of negativity, some bad blood between teams, sometimes just individual players, I think is great for the intrigue of the sport. And those narratives and storylines, I think, are good for casual viewers as well. Yeah, go for it.
My apologies.
Yeah.
There's actually one more thing I wanted to point out too, just in regards to the hypocrisy of it all.
Yeah.
They talked about Angel Reese and her disrespect and how she was disrespectful and all that stuff. UConn won their championship 2 days ago, and did y'all see what they were doing?
No, I don't think so. You mean the school? I saw that. Yeah. I thought you meant the players.
All this stuff.
Okay,
and it wasn't a word.
No, I saw this.
Almost completely forgot that. Just in regards to folks talking about classless and unprofessional and all this stuff, to have the women do their minimal stuff, and on the other side, the men who they're being compared to going this extreme and not being any reaction from the same people, definitely makes y'all look away. So your point, Alec, about the coded language about all this, it becomes more prevalent when you see what's going. The dude got knocked out.
Oh God!
It becomes even more prevalent when you see stuff like this that's going on the opposite side. So yeah, just a nasty thing from them. Almost completely forgot that, but wanted to mention it. I'm in there, but you can go back now to what you were saying about just trash talk in general.
Sure. And last thing on that with LSU and Iowa too, I just hate that whole conversation about classlessness and all that like overshadowed the performance that LSU had. Like we weren't really talking about the game so much as we were what Angel Reese did in the last 15 seconds when they had already won the game. So I just hate that kind of overshadowed like how dominant LSU was in that game, how exciting of a game it was, because that's really what the focus should have been about, and you kind of took it away from the champions in that way.
Got it.
But yeah, going back to your question about just trash talking in general, I think it's great for the game. I think getting more of players' personality is always better for us as viewers too. And I think that it brings a lot of intrigue, as I was saying, to the casual viewer that maybe doesn't know a whole lot about the sport, but knows Patrick Beverly is going to troll whoever like when he gets on the floor.
Him too.
Yeah, so I think Dylan Brooks as well, of course. I think it's great for the sport, and I think a little bit of bad blood is good for competition. We don't like it when we complained a couple years back, as recent as probably a couple years back, that too many of these players are friends and buddy and just want to team up and join with one another, but don't actually want to compete. And now people are complaining about the trash talk. So you got to pick one side. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Took the words straight out of my mouth. Couldn't have said it any better there at the end. I think, look, man, I think we've always wanted to have extra reason to watch, like Grizzlies, Warriors. That's the playoff matchup I'm rooting for.
Yeah.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
I find Dylan Brooks extremely corny. I don't care though. Corny sells.
It does.
People forever tuned in to watch Floyd Mayweather try to lose.
Yeah.
People are now trying to copy that in Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Tune in, play the heel. People want to watch you lose. Kobe Covington, play the heel. People want to watch you lose. Oh, what? Guess what? You're still going to buy those tickets. You're still going to turn on the TV. And that check is going to cash. So, like, at the end of the day, man, from an entertainment perspective, it's great. I think as long as lines aren't really being crossed, like there's been rumors over the years about like what some of the things that KG has said.
Some personal stuff.
Like, all right, some of that stuff has got no.
What was that? Honey Nut Cheerios? Was that it?
Oh,
and again, I don't even know how much of that is totally been confirmed as real, but that stuff does happen, and there's a time like there's a time and a place for not that, but for like trash talk that's like alpha males or alpha females, competitors trying to use the psychological warfare
exactly
to at the end of the day try to beat their opponent. So like, man, like you said, if you want to have your cake, can't you gotta be able to dish what you can take and all this stuff, man. It's just
we all love Kobe here. He was one of the GOATs at it. So
absolutely. So I'm with both of y'all. As much as sports are meant to be professional, and in regards to the skill of the game, it's top notch. It's also entertainment, as Jake pointed out, and having guys that add to the entertainment value, especially from teams that may not be top dogs. While the Grizzlies and Warriors are top dogs, there are other teams like I had the picture of Beverly, who's a lower team that the Bulls still finding their way. Having guys on other teams that may not be the most skilled, or how you want to describe them, but still add value and give you a reason to watch, definitely is appreciated. And just in general, as we said, I don't think that trash talk is unprofessional, and that guys that have this top tier talent are part of that top 1% that are blessed to be in these leagues should be allowed to express themselves amongst each other as they see, as long as it doesn't cross any major bounds. So I'm all for trash talk. It ain't coming to me, to be honest. I like it all and enjoy all that Dylan Brooks and Beverly and all these guys provide, and hope that we continue to see more of that built up going forward. So great things from all of them. Any other comments on trash talk or the things we discussed from either of you?
Yeah, I got one more thing about that. So I don't think anybody has to when we talk about this whole trash talk thing, I'm totally cool with it, but I just don't want it to be where we have to pretend like we have to like a certain player.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, why can't like if I don't want to like Dylan Brooks as a player, I don't have to like Dylan Brooks as a player because of the trash talk.
Jake, listen, you don't have to, but I will.
Fair.
I got it, pal. I got you.
Listen, I think I'm in the middle of you guys because like I hated Dylan Brooks back to his Oregon days. Like he was the one that broke Arizona's 65 game home win streak or whatever, and he was talking his shit back in the day too. So I've hated him in that way, but I love the trash talk. Like it's still entertaining to me, just to see him antagonizing guys and to see him get his shit stuffed too. Like see people dish it right back to him and people beat him in the head-to-head matchup, because I think that makes it more entertaining too when you see the guys that talk a whole bunch, but then when it's time to show up, they get showed up by their opponent too. Like for example, I think that back and forth is great. Yeah.
For example, I'm pretty sure this game from this picture, the Goulds were up like 20 points in the third quarter, and the Warriors came back and beat them in the fourth and lost that game. And the Goulds lost that game. So they lost. They're still images of Dylan Brooks talking his stuff and all of that. So even in defeat, guys can still be as boisterous as they are. So I think it's pretty accurate how this is leveled in the spectrum with Alec in the middle also. So I think all is fine, and they don't all have to be loved. But I don't have to be loved, but they can be allowed to do what they do and go from there. So we'll see what's next in all of this. We'll see who starts chirping next. There's gonna be a great matchup tonight with the Lakers and Clippers. So we'll see how that trash talk may go, with Russ being a former Laker going up against his old team as they all fight for playoffs and all that stuff. And just excited for basketball across the board, men's, women's, and all. So good stuff here for our first conversation. We have plenty of other things to discuss, as we said at the top of the show. And glad to have y'all on for this one right now. Thank y'all for this right now. We go to this 3-shot. Thank y'all for this first conversation. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe, all that stuff for us. We're gonna be back talking about NFL a little bit, back talking about MLB a little bit, and then lastly, of course, most importantly, heading into this weekend, talking about UFC with some big fights coming up on Saturday night. So appreciate y'all. Jake, thank you for this first episode, and we'll keep this thing rolling, y'all. Appreciate it. Peace.
Deuces.